Okay, so we've got a story for you today. It's a medieval epic from southern Italy. You know the type. A classic tale of a hero and a monster. But this legend, it holds a secret, a deliberate deception that's been hiding in plain sight for centuries. And today, we're going to uncover it.
So picture this. We're in Calabria, in southern Italy. It's this rugged, beautiful land just steeped in ancient myths. And on the surface, our story seems pretty familiar. There's a valiant hero, a terrifying giant, and a huge battle for honor. But the real monster in this story, it isn't what you'd expect at all.
And it all kicks off with these words, a challenge thrown down from a poem that's supposedly centuries old. A life is being demanded, and a duel to the death is about to begin. All right, so first, let's get into the tale that's at the heart of this whole mystery. For hundreds of years, this is the story that everyone believed.
So, on one side you've got our hero, Enrico Calà. He's this noble Swabian warrior, supposedly descended from British royalty, and he's known for being totally calm under pressure. And on the other side, we've got the giant, Rubichello, a monstrous figure, just immense and ferocious, literally breathing smoke in his rage. It's a pretty classic setup, right?
The plot itself is pretty straightforward. Rubichello storms into Calabria, demanding blood because Enrico's brother killed his brother, Marducco. So he challenges Enrico, who of course has to accept to defend his family's name. The terms are set. It's one-on-one combat, spear and sword, until one man, or, well, one giant, is left standing.
And, just like you'd expect in an epic poem, our hero comes out on top. After this huge, fierce battle, Enrico decapitates the giant. The monster is slain, the hero is victorious, and a new legend is born. A simple, heroic tale. Or is it?
Yeah, that seemingly simple story really starts to fall apart when you look at the document it actually comes from. This is where the questions begin, and the tale gets a whole lot more complicated.
So the source for this whole legend is a Latin epic called On the Duel of Enrico Calà. Now, it was supposedly written by a famous 14th century scholar named Barlaam Calabro, and this guy was a huge deal. He was so respected, he even taught Greek to literary giants like Petrarch and Boccaccio, key figures of the Renaissance.
And right here, this is the first major red flag. For a supposedly famous poem from the 14th century, there is absolutely no mention of it. Anywhere. Until it suddenly pops up in print in the 1660s. That's a 300-year gap of complete and total silence. Something just doesn't add up here. And the clue to this whole puzzle? Well, it isn't in the 14th century at all. It's in the 17th century, wrapped up in a wild story of hidden treasure that had all of Calabria in a frenzy.
So check out how this all went down. It starts in 1659. Rumors of a hidden treasure sparked this massive digging frenzy in a local cave. An ambitious magistrate named Carlo Calà quickly gets involved, promoting the whole thing. And then, just a few years later, in 1665, a long-lost poem celebrating his heroic ancestor, Enrico Calà, is miraculously discovered and published. I mean, the timing is almost too perfect, isn't it?
Okay, so let's connect the dots. How does a local treasure hunt become the foundation for a masterful historical forgery, all driven by one man's personal ambition? Well, the man behind it all was Don Carlo Calà. He was a powerful guy, a jurist, who desperately craved a more prestigious family history. See, he wasn't noble, but he really, really wanted to be. So he used the treasure hunt as a cover, and even hired a local forger named Fernando Stocchi to help him create the evidence he needed. And this is the centerpiece of his whole deception. Right in the middle of all the digging, a bronze plate, or a lamina, is conveniently unearthed, and it's covered in this strange, ancient-looking script that, of course, nobody could read.
But then, what a miracle. Carlo Calà himself just happened to find a book that could translate it, and the inscription, written in what we now know was just fake Old French, told the story of a giant named Rubichello, defeated by none other than Henry, or Enrico Calà. This was the proof he needed to link his family to the heroic poem he was just about to discover. The forgery was complete.
So, okay, the poem is a fake. Case closed. Right? Well, not exactly. What if the forgers built their elaborate lie on top of a tiny crumb of a much older, authentic truth? The story isn't over yet.
This is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. I mean, if Calà and his forger buddy invented everything, where in the world did they get the names Marducco and Rubichello? They don't sound Italian at all. They sound Northern European. And here it is! This is the connection! The name Marducco is almost identical to Marducco, a giant from Breton romances that were popular in Northern Europe. And Rubichello? It's strikingly similar to Rubizal, a famous giant from German folklore. I mean, come on, those can't be coincidences.
Now, Rubezal is a well-known mountain spirit from the folklore of Germanic peoples. The fact that his name pops up, just slightly changed, in a forged Italian poem, well, it suggests that the forgers weren't just inventing things out of thin air. They were tapping into something else entirely.
So here's the crucial insight. This story isn't just a simple lie. It's actually this complex layering of history and folklore and straight-up fabrication, all built one on top of the other. Here's how it probably happened. First, there was a core of truth, some ancient local tradition about giants' tombs, which was likely a cultural memory left behind by early Germanic tribes, like the Lombards who settled in Italy. Then, centuries later, you get Carlo Calà, who takes this genuine piece of folklore and builds his elaborate forgery right on top of it. And finally, his fabricated legend becomes so successful that it's accepted as real history for the next 300 years.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? The story of Enrico Calapera shows us that history isn't always some single solid fact. It's often a series of layers, a truth covered by a story, which itself becomes a new kind of truth. And it leaves us with one final question. How many of our accepted histories are just beautifully constructed stories like this one, waiting for someone to start unlayering them?